Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Cloy's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to CloysSouthernEats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.
And everybody, welcome to the Wednesday, October 25th edition of the Huddle with Marty Houston. I'm your host, Jason Pattison. Marty, man, how you doing today?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I am doing really, really good. The lighting looks a little bit different on my end tonight because, as y'all know, it's getting a lot darker a lot sooner. And so I'm having to kind of play with my lighting a little bit to make sure it's even and I'm not getting any shadows or anything.
You're starting to sound like me when I was in the car, you know?
Oh my gosh. I know. That episode a couple of weeks ago, it just kept getting darker and darker and darker. I thought, oh man, we're going to have to wrap this up, I think, because if not, it's going to get really crazy dark out there. So, elephant in the room really quick, Marty. Arkansas has a new offensive coordinator. Sam Pittman made the adjustment. I'm going to say he probably talked to Dan Enos Saturday after the game. I don't think he said he needed to sleep on it. He already saw everything he needed to see. And then Sunday afternoon, come out with the release from the university athletic communications department that Dan had been let go. I didn't see any way around it. There was just no other choice that he could make at this point.
Yeah, whether or not you subscribe to whether or not you think that Dan Enos knew what he was doing or that he is just a bad play caller, I'm not going to get into all of that. I think that he's got a long history of coaching quarterbacks and offensive coordinator working with some very good programs. He's got the respect of a lot of coaches. And so, and he'll work again. He'll go to work somewhere again, and he'll be somebody else's offensive coordinator. But for whatever reason, it was not working here. And I think some of it was the changeover from Kendall Briles, where the kids buying into it. I think that you're hearing now, or at least this is what I think that I'm hearing, that KJ Jefferson, he's wanting to be more up tempo than what it was. And like more of the way that Kendall Briles did it. Now, Kenny Guyton, I don't know that he's totally coordinating the offense, but he is going to be the play caller. And he worked with Kendall Briles, down at Houston when they were coaching together. I don't think you know a whole lot about Kenny Brighton other than that he was a quarterback for Ohio State at one time. So but when the offense wasn't getting any better, and Sam Pittman is saying, well, we got to change this. And I think that they probably did. They tried to do some things, but I think they were he was stubborn on some other things, and that's not good.
Yeah.
And you get back home after, playing pretty well on the road at Alabama, and then you come back home and you're looking for this great home stretch that you have, and you put up 3 points, and you still haven't had a 100-yard rusher all year. You still haven't had the productivity that we were expecting for KJ Jefferson. Yeah, he said it after the game. I feel like I owe it to the fans. I feel like I owe it to these kids that we do something different, and that's where it is.
And you could tell by KJ's body language. And I mean, I know that there's a photo out there that got blown up. It looked like it was a picture taken from the TV where it showed KJ rolling his eyes as he was coming off the field. I know that's had some circulation around social media, but you didn't even need to see the eye roll. You could just tell by the body language itself that he just did not want to run the offense that was being put out there. He was trying the best he could, but he understood that what makes this team go was not what they were doing.
Yeah. And again, that's part of the coach's job, getting the players to buy in to what you're doing. Now, and again, it just does. And it wasn't just him. It wasn't just KJ. You could tell it with the way the offensive linemen are performing. There's only 2 guys that were returning from last year, but they were doing things, that they weren't doing last year. I could see that out of both of them. The holds, the jumping off sides, that for whatever reason it was not working. I think they worked with them. I think they tried to get them, but they were not buying into it. And with whatever changes that Enos was putting in, it was different from what Kendall Briles had. So again, with the connection that Guyton had to both Enos and with Briles, you may see a little bit more of a return to what Briles was doing. We'll see. We're going to see how much play calling actually had to do with it, because he's going to be a breath of fresh air, and I say a breath of fresh air, a change of pace. I don't know if it'll be a breath of fresh air, because we're going to soon find out how much play calling actually had to do with what was going on. Was he just a bad play caller, or were the kids just not buying in totally to what he has been installing? And he had the entire offseason to do it. And again, he came in the same situation when Bielema was here, and they did buy into it and ran a pretty successful offense under Enos for a couple of years. And then this time around, it wasn't working. It was different. So, and like I say, Guyton, we don't really know a whole lot about him other than, what he was as a player at Ohio State, what he had worked with Kendall Briles, but he also worked with Enos.
Yep. Yeah, that's what's going to be, from my perspective, I think that the first thing that Kenny Guyton does is he meets with KJ, sits him down and says, I need your 20 best plays that you have on this play sheet right now. Which ones of these 20 now, your top 5 that for a fact you can run in your sleep, that's going to get us a first down each time or close to it, or get us some positive yards. And then I think then they start to build from there. But I think that's one of the first conversations that Kenny has to have with KJ from the get-go.
Well, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe simplifying it. That was one thing that I heard, that maybe that Enos was had much more complicated playbook. Again, I heard KJ saying this week about wanting to be more up tempo. And so that kind of led me to believe that was one of the differences that maybe he had with Enos. So, outwardly they both talk like everything was fine. And there hasn't been anything that KJ has said that's really slammed Enos or anything that Enos has said that slammed KJ. And you wouldn't suspect that. You wouldn't hear that. But a little bit of that is coming out now. Whether Kendall Briles, whether Kenny Guyton can have a good positive impact on that, we're going to soon find out. And again, it's a good opportunity for Kenny Guyton because he has not been a play caller, and he may be auditioning for the job, going forward now. If they have good success, they do have. They don't have any room for error now, but you're going on the road to Florida. And again, there was no other way to explain what happened with the Mississippi State game. It was hard to talk about what we witnessed in that game. And nobody, even Sam Pittman himself after the game couldn't, talk about, what had just happened. Yeah, it was just almost unexplainable. So now they're in the situation they've got to win out, and they lose one game, and they're not going to reach bowl eligibility. So I don't know. Let's see. They went on the road and played pretty well at Alabama, probably better than a lot of the other teams that have gone to Alabama have done. And let's see if he can bring some of that back and have some success. It'd be great if we could finally get some positive rushing yardage.
Yes. One of the things, and I'm going to wrap this up too really quick before we move on to Major League Baseball, is that everybody in the stands seemed to know exactly what he was going to call each time. Run, pass, run, pass, to a guy now that there is no tape. None at all on how he's going to call a game. And I know that Sam's going to have his hand in how and when things are going to be called, but there's no tape on Kenny Guyton on the type of game that he is going to call. And that, I think, is going to serve to the Razorbacks' advantage going forward with these last 4 games of the season.
It might. And like I say, we'll see. We'll see how much of this, the Kenny Guyton taking over and calling plays is going to have an effect on it. I know Sam Pittman had talked, for a few weeks about they weren't winning first down. They were putting themselves in second and third and long. Sometimes that was because of penalties. Sometimes it was because of bad plays. We had sacks. A lot of things. So simplifying it might help. The fact that they've gone this far in the season, that might help as well. So again, we're going to soon see, the effect that the change might have, and how Kenny Guyton too. We'll see what kind of play caller he is.
He is. All right, Marty, we're going to take a quick break here for just a minute, and word from our sponsor, Coy Southern Eats.
Tired of serving up the same old tasteless victuals to your family? Step up your grill game with new seasonings from Coy's Southern Eats. Based off famous Southern recipes, our seasonings will add what's been missing to your family's feast. Add it to steak, chicken, shrimp, you name it. Serving up these fixings is going to make you the hero at home. So head on over to coyssoutherneats.com and order yours today. Come get you some.
All right. Well, we're back. All right. So World Series is now at our doorstep. You got the Arizona Diamondbacks. You've got the Texas Rangers. I'm going to tell you what, this was a very unexpected collision of 2 teams in late October. If I'm not mistaken, the Vegas odds at the start of the baseball season for these 2 teams to reach the World Series was 1 in 1,700. Now, if you bought a $1 ticket on that out in Vegas, you're probably singing to the high heavens right now because you just cashed in. So that might be a good thing if you're able to score on that. But
right,
what I've found fascinating about the ALCS was that each team won, or each road team won each game of that ALCS, and that was the first time that had happened since 2019 World Series.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. Go ahead, Marty. You're good.
Well, I was saying I love the series. You had both defending champs taken down in both the National and the American League by wild card teams. They were both division winners. And in the American League, you're right. I mean, Texas has done very well on the road. Going into the NLCS, they had not lost a game until they returned home. So, I think they went 8-0 before they finally lost a game. Yeah.
This is what a stat that I heard a little while back ago. It was, I think, later yesterday, was that the combined win total of both of these teams was the lowest entering a World Series in modern baseball era history. And that just tells you if for the love of the game, you're going to hate it just as much as you're going to love it, because it just depends on which team gets on a roll. And like with the Phillies, they were on a buzz. I mean, they mowed through Atlanta. You saw that they were going to probably put a good fight up against the Diamondbacks, which they did. Took them to 7 games. But the thing is that I felt like their magic kind of got lost there towards the last 2 games of that NLCS. And I personally would have loved to see Bryce Harper get on the big stage again, see what he can do. But just the pitching got him this time, man.
I mean, these are 2 young clubs. I could see this coming for a while with the Texas Rangers. They had been selling off some of their players and building up, good young talent. And you see, I mean, they're as good a hitting team as there is in all of Major League Baseball. They knew they needed to get pitching. They got some help there at the trade deadline and getting Scherzer and getting our guy from the Cardinals, Jordan Montgomery, yes.
Yep.
And so, and that was key. That was, making a nice trade there at the deadline and getting those guys was probably as big as anything for and they got John Gray back as well.
Yep.
They did a little bit in free agency with some pitching, in the off season. Nathan Eovaldi was a big pickup, but mostly these are guys that the Rangers have fostered themselves. Same thing with the Diamondbacks. Again, these are two teams that just 2 years ago lost over 100 games, and they've turned it around, and they've done it with good young talent that they have mostly brought up. I don't think that you can totally do it without making some other moves, some good strategic moves. But I think that they certainly didn't do it by going out and buying a lot of free agents. We know that, and they did some minor moves that way, but just 2 good young clubs. Again, Arizona's got Corbin Carroll, who is a rookie, and you see how good that guy is. He has been that good all year, and he's good all around. He's just as good on the bases as he is hitting, and just as good a fielder. He's a rookie. The Rangers have got rookies. I mean, just good young talent on both of these teams, and that's what I think is going to be fun to watch.
I was watching the post game after Game 7 of the ALCS, and one of the narratives that I was starting to kind of catch a little bit, there was more of an undertone because it really wasn't spoken about, was former Cardinals that have done great after they've left. You've got Adolis Garcia, ALCS MVP. He's got 20 RBIs this postseason. He is one behind David Freese whenever they made that 2011 run to the World Series championship. I think that was Tony La Russa's last championship. And they start talking about Randy Arozarena. They started talking about a little bit about Ozuna as well. And I'm sitting there thinking, are you guys just trying to rub salt in the Cardinal fans?
Well, there's going to be more in this series. The Arizona Diamondbacks' best pitcher is Zach Galen. He was a guy that was drafted by the Cardinals. So you're gonna see some Tommy Pham, who was with the Cardinals. He is with Arizona. So you're gonna Jordan Montgomery. We just talked about him. A guy that the Cardinals had traded for and then traded again. And he's but he's going to be a free agent. I don't even know if he'll be with the Rangers next year. So, you know, but yeah, you'll see some Cardinals flavor, some guys that you used to see in the Cardinals uniform and in the Cardinals system.
Yeah, it was really kind of tough to swallow because you're sitting here thinking, okay, some of the Cardinals' best runs that they've had was where they had too many outfielders that came up through the minors. I can remember just a few years ago that they were having trouble trying to fit in 3 outfielders because they had 5 in tow that were either at the big league level or ready to move up from the Memphis Redbirds. And they were having to dump guys because they knew that their contracts were going to come up in a year or two, trying to bring those guys up. But then it just kind of went away because I feel like, you know, John Mozeliak for the guy, I don't know what he was thinking over the last 3 or 4 years, but to be giving these guys up for cash considerations, either low round picks or guys that sort of really haven't panned out yet in the minors, it just makes you sit there and cringe.
Yeah. Well, again, you know, I think that they're going to be active in the winter. You know, I don't know that they're going to go out and spend a ton of money, you know, but I think that they're going to be active. They are going to probably zero in on some guys. We talked about Sonny Gray from Minnesota. That he's certainly a guy that the Cardinals are interested in. But yeah, you look at some of those times you make those trades and you bring in a Marcell Ozuna. And you trade guys that you don't know about at that time. You know, and one of them being Zach Galen was a part of that trade. And you know, Ozuna was good for the Cardinals for a couple of years, but boy, you did mortgage a lot of the future in getting ready. Same thing with the Arena. You know that. You made another deal and he was part of that. You did get a good young pitcher that you're still hoping will pan out for you, but and he could, you know, that could end up working out, but it just hasn't paid off the way it has for you know, for the Tampa Bay Rays, the way it has with the Arena, who's already taken them to a World Series. So. But it was certainly talent that the Cardinals had drafted and gave up for short-term fixes. And, you know, Ozuna is not he's with the Atlanta Braves now. So, and you see these guys like Zach Galen, who's now, you know, he was just a couple of years away. And now he's one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, and he's pitching for Arizona. He's not with the Cardinals. So, you know, it could work out. The Cardinals got rid of some guys at the trade deadline. They gave up Jordan Montgomery, you know, and they brought in some young pitching, and they're hoping that in a couple of years that turns around. Maybe the Rangers gave up on some guys for some short-term fixes that may turn out to be, you know, pretty good for the Cardinals later on. So,
yeah. I don't know how much more I can talk about the Cardinals at this point on this because we just have to wait and see what they do on the offseason.
Yeah, right now they're not in the conversation. They're not, you know, this is a good. I like the World Series. I like the 2 teams that are there. Rangers have never won it. Arizona hasn't been there. I mean, they've only been there once. And they won it, and that was in 2000. I'll never forget that World Series that they were involved in. It was right after 9/11. I mean, we were within a month of the terror attacks that we had in New York and in Washington, D.C. And a lot of people were still at that point of whether or not we should even resume playing sports at all. And it was so much a part of helping the healing, getting those games going again. And the Diamondbacks, they had loaded up with some pitching with Randy Johnson and Kurt Schilling, and an exciting 7-game series that was so helpful to feel some normality with the game going again. Also during that year, the Arkansas Razorbacks returned and had a young freshman by the name of Matt Jones, and they turned in a 7 overtime game against Ole Miss. That we were real excited about in 2001. But that was the last time Arizona was there, and the Rangers have been there a couple of times, as we well know, being Cardinal fans. In 2011 was the last time. And but they've never won it. They're one of only 6 teams in Major League Baseball who have never won a World Series title. And Arizona, this was only their second World Series. So some new blood in there, young talent. I'm looking forward to seeing the series unfold.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great
series.
I think.
It's good time. It's good times in Dallas. I'll say this. I was told this by one of our former sports reporters. He's an anchor down in Dallas. It's only the second time ever that you've got and the only time this would ever happen is when is if the Texas Rangers could make it to a World Series. But you've got the Dallas Stars, the Dallas Mavericks, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Texas Rangers all in season, all playing, all taking games coming up this weekend.
Wow, that's some easy.
The only other time it's ever happened down there is in 2010. In 2011, the NBA had a walkout, and so because the Rangers were in the World Series then, but it's a good time if you're down in the Dallas Metroplex because all teams are in season right now with the NBA just starting this week, and the Texas Rangers in the World Series hosting Friday and Saturday. And the Dallas Cowboys playing on Sunday. The Mavericks just got are getting their season, I think, underway tonight.
Yep. Yeah, that's. I'm going to tell you, if you're in the DFW area and you are doing anything with sports, this is probably the easiest part of your job at the easiest part of the year right now, because you literally you're probably having to cut more off than what you want to in a 30-minute to an hour program because there is so much that's happening this weekend.
Yeah. And again, it doesn't happen that often, and it won't happen unless the Rangers are in the World Series to have all of those professional sports teams have their games overlapping. But it's a big weekend certainly down there.
Yeah, it is, and I'm just going to put my support out there really quick. I want to see the Rangers win it. I know that the Diamondbacks. I'm surprised that Craig Counsell was never voted mayor of Phoenix. I'm surprised it never happened. That guy probably still lives in folklore.
I'm probably I'm rooting for the Rangers just from the fact that I was always a fan of the Rangers and the Cardinals growing up, and I had sworn it was so frustrating rooting for the Rangers that I'm like, you know what, it's going to be, as my son was born also in 2001, I said, I'm just not going to have him. I'm not going to take him to Rangers games the way I was taken to Rangers games when I was a kid. But I've got some good stories of going to Rangers games at the old Arlington Stadium, and they are kind of a regional team. I think they got a decent fan base in our area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be a great series, and I can't wait for that to get started. Real quick program note, on Saturday, Arkansas will be taking on the Purdue Boilermakers in a charity exhibition that starts at 3 p.m. I do believe that you can watch it on SEC Plus. They are also going to have radio for that game as well. So be sure to check that out. And there are tickets still available if y'all want to attend in person too.
It's a charity game, and Purdue's the number 3 team in the preseason.
Yeah, and you got consensus All-American Zach Edey, preseason consensus All-American Zach Edey for the 23-24 season that was voted on earlier this week. So Marty, I'm going to get you out of here, man. I'm going to let you get back to doing your thing. And I got to let my sound producer in here. He's been locked out for a little while. He's not too happy right now, Max the Beagle. So,
okay.
All right. Well, Marty, for Marty Houston, myself, Jason Patterson, I want to thank you guys for jumping on the Hogville.net presentation of the Huddle with Marty Houston. Marty, thank you. Take care.
Thank you, sir.